Hello. Like Maximilian, I'm not used to speaking in front of a lot of people. I'm used to playing music in front of a lot of people, but not speaking. So that's why I thought I'd start with a short video to kind of give you an idea of the kind of things I do. Um, so that video was a sum up of what I've been doing over the last 3 or 4 years. And the other people that you saw in the video were my siblings. I'm one of seven, and I'm the oldest. And we all play music, sometimes together and sometimes separately. Um, so anyway, I'll start from the beginning. So I started the piano when I was 6, and at first it was just a hobby. I was doing a lot of things like sport and ballet, and music was just one of those things that I enjoyed. But as time went on, I I decided that I enjoyed it more than everything else. And so by the time I was about 10, I said to, no, 9, sorry, I said to my piano teacher at the time, where's the best place in the world to go for music? And she said, the Royal Academy of Music in London. So I said, that's where I'd like to go. And a year later, I was going there every Saturday as part of the Junior Royal Academy of Music. And that's when I started having proper teaching from incredible teachers. And it was at that age that I decided I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. Now, I think earlier Dennis was saying it's quite hard to find a black role model who isn't in music, entertainment, or sport. Now, I am in music, but I think when you think of a black role model, you tend to think of maybe a rap artist or someone more like Beyonce. I don't think you would think of a classical pianist or a classical musician. Um, so what I was doing was quite new and quite novel. But at the young age of 10, it didn't feel that way to me. You know, this was something that I loved doing, and I never really stopped to consider the fact that most black people my age, or most people my age in general, would not think of studying classical music at that age. I think what made me so determined as well was that I had my 7 siblings, and all of them were also interested in music. And I mean, I think it did start with me, but they all followed on and they all started having lessons, and it became a big family event. And it just became normal. You come home from school and you practice, and because all your siblings are doing it as well, it doesn't feel strange and it doesn't feel like hard work. And so our house was always noisy. You know, you'd be eating dinner and there'd be someone practicing the cello right there, or you'd be trying to go to the toilet and there's someone practicing the violin in the bathroom. And but that was just normal life for us. And it was only as I grew older and made friends at school that I realized that most people didn't do that kind of thing. Many people ask me if it's competitive growing up with so many musical siblings all wanting to succeed. I personally never found that. We all play different instruments. My brothers play stringed instruments, violin and cello, and my sisters do play the piano, but because they were a lot younger than me, we were always on different levels and our paths were always slightly different. So we were always, instead of competitive, more supportive, which was actually really amazing to have this kind of network of people constantly supporting you, even when your friends at school may not quite understand, you know, why can't you come out and play on a Wednesday night? I'll say, oh, I've got to practice the piano. And it's like, they're like, why? But you have your siblings supporting you and understanding you. So the first part of the video that you saw was a clip of me performing on the BBC Young Musician of the Year competition. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard of that competition because I don't know how mainstream it is, but in the classical music world, it's kind of the competition, at least in the UK. So it's like if you win that, you made it as a classical musician. And as we were growing up, we used to watch it. It's on every 2 years. And my family and I used to sit down and watch it religiously. And I always dreamed of winning that competition. And it's been said quite a lot, you know, tonight that when you have plans, they don't often go how you think they're going to go. But at the young age of, you know, 10, 11, 12, you think that if you dream something, it will come true. So I never once stopped to consider that I might not win the BBC Young Musician competition. You know, that was my plan. That was what was going to happen. And I never thought that it wouldn't happen. So I got to the piano category finals, and that clip was of me performing in the category finals. And as soon as I got through to that stage, I thought, well, that's it. I've made it. This is going to happen. And so I worked really hard. Um, Perhaps I didn't work hard enough, or sometimes maybe you can't really predict these things, no matter how hard you work. So I got to the category finals and I didn't win. And it was a massive shock to me. I was 17 years old. I was about to finish school, and my plan had been to win the competition and then enter the classical music world as a star. And perhaps I was quite naive to just assume that it would happen because I got there and then there were so many other people who were just as good as me and better than me who all had the same dream, and it went to someone else. And I actually think at the time I was obviously crushed and I thought, this is it, this is all over. But looking back, I think that it was the most important message for me that you can give your all and you can try your best and you still might not succeed. And there's no saying that if you fail at something that you failed for life. And I actually think that that failure caused me to have a better attitude towards towards what I wanted and towards achieving my goals. So after failing to win the competition, 2 years later, my brother on the cello entered the same competition. Only this time, we as an entire family had a completely different attitude and we understood the competition more and what needed to be done. And we gave, or he gave, but we as a family also supported him and gave absolutely everything that you can possibly give. And he actually ended up winning the competition. So I think that had I won when I'd wanted to, I wouldn't have been really ready to enter the music world. I hadn't finished developing, I hadn't finished studying. And then my brother would not have won 2 years later because we wouldn't have had the same attitude needed to win the competition. And I'm talking about my brother's success now, not my own. But in a way, because he's won, he now has classical music concerts all over the world. And I'm playing some of these concerts with him, and we also play together as a family. And I think that I needed to not win the competition in order for that to happen. So I think that we spent quite a lot of tonight. I mean, this event is called Success Talks, but we spent quite a lot of time talking about failure. But I actually think that failure is the key to success and that you have to fail in order to succeed. And you shouldn't really see it as a failure. You should just see it as maybe a change in your plan. But in the end, it always makes you stronger. So I think that that's really important. I always feel that it's a shame that classical music isn't appreciated by more people in today's society, especially Black people. I find that the more I spend time in this world, that I find that I am one of very, very few who of my color who enjoy it. But also, classical music in general is not appreciated by a lot of people, which I think is a huge shame. So my siblings and I always have a great desire to try and bring it to as many people as possible. And you saw a clip of us performing on Britain's Got Talent. That was about 2 years ago now. And we wanted to do that because we wanted to try and bring classical music to a more mainstream audience and see what happened. And we ended up getting to the semi-final, which is further than we expected to get with such a niche group. And it actually turned out to be a big success. We've had more concerts all over the world since being on that show. And I find that more people from many different backgrounds are starting to enjoy classical music and starting to get into it. So that's something that we'll continue doing throughout our lives. And that's a journey that I think is very important. So just to finish, I mean, I am also in no means successful. I mean, Rochelle read out a long list of achievements, but it always sounds impressive if you read it in one list like that. It was actually spanned out over the course of my life with many failures and hard work in between. Um, and I think that when you get somewhere that you want to be, for example, now I am studying at the Royal Academy of Music in my third year, and that is also one of my dreams. And so I have been successful in that sense. But I think that you should never stop developing. and never stop achieving. And if you ever get somewhere that you want to be, you should never sit comfortably. You should always try and get to the next level. And that's what I'm always trying to do. So, thank you.